joining us to go all out on this story is Sportswriter Josh Planos, joining us all the way from Nebraska in the U.S. Josh, it's been a while. Welcome back to the show. We missed you, man.
Thanks so much, Andre. I've missed you too.
Let's talk about the NBA, sir. Josh, a lot of us aren't really shocked that the Lakers are out of playoff contention, considering, the past few games, the past few months. They've been bagged up, losing games. Well, coming into the season, though, I remember there were already a lot of doubts for the purple and gold that the team that they put together. There were a lot of optimistic fans. But what's your reaction in general to their run this season, especially in recent weeks, Josh?
Yeah, there were reservations about how a team as old as the Lakers would perform this season. But Andre, to me, it's staggering that a team with 3 members of the NBA top 75 list couldn't so much as crack the top 10 in the Western Conference. The team was never going to be competitive even when healthy, which speaks to how poorly it was constructed from a roster perspective and how poorly they adjusted over the course of the season. But it's shocking that we're about to see a LeBron team miss out in the playoffs for just the 4th time in his career. And hopefully the playoffs can, prove to be entertaining without him.
In your mind, with so much, they have a lot of, you just mentioned, 3 top 75 players of all time in that lineup. They have so much experience. You got Melo, you got Dwight Howard. Initially, in the beginning of the season, they even had Rondo, who won a title with them in the bubble. But why did they struggle so much this season?
Yeah, well, they weren't good at much, Andre. I mean, this was an offense and a defense that ranked in the bottom 9 of the league. They were a bad rebounding team on both ends of the floor. They didn't perform well in crunch time, certainly didn't seem to gel with one another. And in terms of roster construction, it resembled the island of misfit toys, right? You had multiple ball-dominant players on the floor at any given time who struggled to play without possessing the ball. Russell Westbrook, of course, had a horrific season, as many know, but the problems for this team were substantial and much more than just a handful of players.
Let's talk about Russell Westbrook. That was a huge trade they made in the offseason. A lot were excited. But now that he's the subject of many, many negative comments, getting the blame from all over social media. Decent numbers, though, this season, averaging 18.5 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 7.1 assists a game. A far cry from his MVP year. But why do you think the Brody just didn't fit in well with former Team USA teammates, with LeBron, with AD? He just didn't seem to be the perfect piece that they needed for a championship run.
I think it can't be overstated how difficult it is to play basketball at one speed your whole life and then be told to slow things down and then to take the ball away from that person. Russ had his lowest single season usage rate since 2010. That was like his sophomore year in the league. And he was asked to join a roster without much perimeter shooting. The ball was taken away from him, as I mentioned, to put it in the hands of players like LeBron James. And his development was really non-existent, which I think he'll probably look back on and critique himself. I mean, he really didn't perform well when he didn't have the ball in his hands. He didn't improve on the defensive side. He didn't commit to playing strong defense. And it was a season to forget. And it's unfortunate because it was also his homecoming, right? I mean, He's from Los Angeles. So certainly a difficult season for him. But he's had an incredible career, and I wouldn't be surprised if he bounced back.
Well, if the Lakers management, Rob Pelinka and those guys decide to trade Westbrook, they gave up a lot to get him. They gave away Harrell, Kuzma, KCP, some picks, I believe. What should this deal now, what should they look at? If they give away Westbrook, he still has a huge contract. And who are some specific players maybe that you can name that they should try to get in exchange for the Brody?
Yeah, I mean, he has that $47.1 million player option next season, and no one in their right mind would opt out of something like that. So, of course, he's going to try to come back. This is his home. Now, the difficulty comes from offloading that contract. Like you mentioned, Andre, there aren't a lot of teams interested in essentially trading for a new offense, which is basically what you get when you trade for Russell Westbrook. He runs the show. He does it his way, for better or worse. So he'll be need to, packaged with picks and players to make a deal work. A player like Taylor Horton-Tucker, I believe they have 2 future, very much in the future, first-round picks. They're like 5 years off that they can trade. They could potentially, maybe get someone like a Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers if you package, again, multiple players and picks. Or you could go to Indiana and look at a player like Malcolm Brogdon and Buddy Hield of the Indiana Pacers, something like that. I think LA really needs to chase complementary pieces, players who are capable scorers and maybe don't need the ball as much in replacement of him.
Well, Laker legend Magic Johnson, who's won 5 titles with the Lakers, he said earlier this week that the Lakers should also consider trading Anthony Davis, but the team says they're not considering it for now. Your thoughts on this? Is it time to press that button to trade AD? And they gave up a lot as well for getting AD from the Pelicans, or should they keep Anthony Davis here? What do you think, Josh?
I think Magic Johnson has an incredible ability to keep his name in the headlines and to exaggerate comments to make a big media splash. And I think that's what he's doing here. I don't think trading Anthony Davis is a recipe for success. I have a hard time thinking the Lakers could get adequate return on that trade because when he's healthy, he's one of the 10 best players in the league. Now, of course, it can be frustrating, right, to wait for him to get healthy, but you don't trade a superstar unless you're getting one back. And I don't really see a realistic option for that here. As poorly as they played this season, he is a great complementary player for LeBron. And so I think if I'm in LeBron's camp, I'm doing everything I can to keep Anthony Davis on the roster.
Just have to keep him healthy. That's the most important thing with Anthony Davis. Well, Josh, before we continue our discussion, you know what time it is, my friend. We haven't had you for quite some time. It's time for your favorite part of the show, quiz question of the day. The question I asked earlier, Josh, was LeBron James is the 3rd NBA player since 2006 to miss the playoffs after averaging at least 30 points per game in a season. Who are the other 2? Josh Planos.
Carmelo Anthony and that's all I got for you. Carmelo Anthony.
I was actually thinking Carmelo Anthony as well, man. But let's take a look at the correct answers. We're both wrong. Well, the chef is up there. There's Steph Curry and Bradley Beal. LeBron James is missing the playoffs for only the 4th time in his 19-year career. Yeah, I remember Steph missing, I believe, a few seasons back when Clay wasn't playing. He was still injured. But yeah, I also had Melo in mind, man. Well, let's go to LeBron. 30 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists a game this season. Definitely playing like he's not 37 years old. I mean, if there's a silver lining to the season here for the Lakers, it's how well the King, LBJ, LeBron James, the GOAT, whatever you want to call him, how he played this season. He really tried to carry this team with some 50-plus points performances during the season. Let's talk about LeBron for you, Josh, and just talk about his greatness.
Yeah, it's not often that we see a 37-year-old become a gunner, but that's exactly what we're seeing with LeBron, and good for him. The Lakers have no chance, right, of reaching the postseason, of winning a championship. So LeBron is clearly looking to add to his legacy, and the next thing on the docket for him is to climb that all-time scoring list. He's played some ridiculous basketball this season, but I'm sure he'd trade those scoring outputs for better team performance if given the option. But for us as fans, I mean, I'm not sure you could ask for much more than an all-time great who's, going out to score as many points as he possibly can.
Must be really, really frustrating for a guy, for LeBron James at his level and counting down the years, but he still wants to win one for sure, wants to win a couple of more titles. Well, trending now, I'm sure you've seen it on social media, LeBron James saying, because he was asked who does he still want to play with, and he mentioned Steph Curry's name. And then he's saying, but Steph answers back, he says, he's good right now. Well, they did play together in the last 2 All-Star games with LeBron being the team captain, getting Steph to be on his team. But we know it's very improbable that these two will actually team up. I don't know if Steph will move to the Lakers. That's impossible. Or LeBron will go to Golden State. So I'm going to ask you, Josh, if there's one player LeBron should play with realistically, ideally, to make sure his numbers no longer go to waste and probably get 1 or 2 more before he retires, who should it be and why? And how can it be possible?
So would want someone who maximizes his abilities and doesn't chuck 25 shots a game. So my knee-jerk reaction is to go with a pass-first MVP candidate like Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. I think they could do some wonderful jaw-dropping things in the half court. I could totally see Jokic throwing, over the shoulder full court passes to LeBron in transition. But I'd also like to see LeBron paired with Ja Morant and Memphis, just from an entertainment perspective. I think that would be about as fun a tandem as you can get, and there would be, some incredible dunks along the way.
I don't know if that's possible, though. Who's going to let go of who? Unless LeBron decides to go to the Mile High City, to Denver. Well, besides LeBron's performance, let's talk about the other silver linings for the Lakers this season. Just to end it on a positive note for the Laker fans, what are the positives that they could build on in preparation for next season, Josh?
Yeah, next year is not going to be any easier. The hope is, of course, that they will be healthier and that players will, kind of revert back to the expectation, that they had entering this season, because a lot of players underperform, frankly. The unfortunate reality for Lakers fans is that they have to look for silver linings now, right? So they're looking at things like LeBron maybe winning the scoring title, or Malik Monk, shooting nearly 40% from three, or Carmelo Anthony kind of rounding into at least another year or two left in the league as reasons for optimism. But that's kind of where it ends, right? I mean, the Western Conference is not going to get any easier. And the hope is that players like Kendrick Nunn, can get on the court for the Lakers next season, and they can at least have a healthy team to work with.
Well, let's see what happens for the Lakers. Just a disappointing season overall for the purple and gold. A lot of fans, not. And LeBron not in the playoffs, man. Okay, Josh, thank you so much again for being on the show. We missed you, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon. You stay safe, and we'll have you back here. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Andre.
We just spoke to sports writer Josh Planos, coming to us live from Nebraska in the U.S. And we've reached today's